Hello guys, welcome back to the podcast Schlick Sports made in the River City. I'm your host, Noah Schlick. Today we got a great episode for you. I'm speaking with owner of B3 Better Sports Performance, Jerrian Sanders. Jerrian works with all kinds of athletes, from professional football players to Olympians, basketball players, local high school athletes, you name it. I gotta admit, this interview was a bit of a challenge for me considering I'm not very familiar with the sports performance side of things, but it was a fun one, and I think it was a fun conversation. Hope you guys enjoy the listen. Here we go. All right, so first up, I wanted to ask you if you're from the Jacksonville area. I know you went to Georgia Southern for college. Are you originally from here?
No, so actually I was a military brat growing up, so I lived somewhere everywhere. I lived in Germany, Texas, South Carolina, all over the world, to be honest. My parents ended up retiring in Augusta, Georgia, though. So that's where I spent like the last half of my childhood.
Yeah, right there with the Masters.
Yep, right down the street.
Really? So did you play any sports when you were younger?
Yeah, I grew up playing all sports, but I end up eventually playing basketball throughout high school.
You did?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that explains the favorite sport being basketball on the website.
There you go. You did your research.
So what first led you to start getting involved in sports performance?
So when I graduated from Georgia Southern in 2004, I came down and worked for a sports performance company here in Jacksonville. So my parents are actually from here. So they were born and raised here. So all my family lived here. And I just wanted to be close to family. Since being a military brat, I never lived around my family. So it was a cool experience to come down here, live around family, but also experience the sports performance world. So originally I came down with the ideal of doing my internship and then going back to school to do physical therapy. However, I came down here and just absolutely fell in love with it. So I started off doing an internship at this place called the Hit Center. And the guy who was the director there knew the head strength and conditioning coach at Jacksonville University. So he introduced me to him, and then I started doing an internship there. And so from there, the internship director there knew the guy who was the head strength and conditioning coach for the Jaguars. So went with them and ended up doing a internship there. So that whole summer, I would wake up at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
I had to go to Jacksonville University, be there from like 5 to like 10 or so, then drive across the bridge, do some stuff with the Jaguars for a couple of hours, and then come to the Hit Center and do some stuff there. I would go home, study all the stuff I did that day, wake up and do it all again. And, before I knew it, it's halfway through the summer. I'm like, I'm only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, but I wake up every day feeling like invigorated. So at that point, I knew it was my calling, and I knew it was what I wanted to do with my career.
Yeah, man, talk about the grind.
Yeah, it was a grind.
So, those are the first steps you took in here, and I can assume those internships kind of what started building up your credibility and connections with athletes.
100%. In this field, you can go one or two routes. You can go to private sector, which is what I'm doing. You working for a company, and you train youth athletes, and work your way up to working with pro athletes. Or you can also go the team side, where you're working with universities and professional teams. But either way you go, it's a grind, right? So people don't know who you are, and you haven't proven yourself. So you have to use other people's recipes to get the athletes to where you want them to get to. And as time goes by, you start to develop your own little recipe. It's no different than a chef and a master chef. A regular chef, he just follows the recipe, and after a while he puts a little different flavor here and there, and it tastes good. So it's the same thing from athletic performance. There's an art to this, and it was just a matter of me finding my place, and through trial and error, got to a place where I could produce high level athletes.
Absolutely, and you're doing really good work over there at B3 now. And for those who are like me and aren't very familiar with sports performance, what exactly is it that you do there, and to help those athletes, reach the next level of their performance?
So we take a scientific approach to how we develop our athletes. So we get them in and we take them through a very vigorous testing process. It's like a 2-hour process. where we break their body down from an anatomical and a physiological perspective. So there's a lot of different variables that go into making you run fast. There's a lot of different variables that go into helping you jump high and building your strength and things like that. So we test those individual variables to see exactly what it is you need as an athlete. And then we customize the programs based off of what the athlete's needs are. Upon completing the evaluation process, you get a 20-page report. And we like to call that 20-page report the Bible for your body. So now you know what your body needs and able in order to get to that next level athletically.
And then what are some of the benefits, athletes will see on the field from this?
Bigger, faster, stronger. Injury prevention is a huge thing. These days athletes play sports year round now. So there is a need to take some time off to develop your body and build it up so that you can go through the rigors of a long season.
Yeah. And then I'd seen you working with DJ and Sean up at the fields there. And I mean, you guys were really looking at everything. Like Sean, he'd pick his chin up a little bit and, you were on that. It really is, impressive to see what you were doing right up there and close. Who was the first professional athlete that you ended up working with?
The very first professional athlete. So it actually was a handful of guys. I worked with Vince Wilfork, Aiken Adele, Marcus Stroud, Mike Peterson, who's now one of the coaches at Florida right now. So I was able to work with those athletes through that first company that I worked with. So they were already there training. So as an intern, I was able to come in and build relationships and work my way up into working on the development of those guys.
And then when I looked you up there, I'd seen some stuff on Set Sports Performance.
Yes.
What is that?
So Set Performance was the original name of B3 Better. So a long time ago, we had like 2 facilities. Now we dwindled down to 1. And when we transitioned, it was time for something different. So now we're B3 Better Sports Performance.
All right. Okay. So that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So what first led you to get involved with this company?
So I'm actually the owner. So after
there you go.
Yeah, so after working, for a while, with that other company, I decided to venture off and do my own thing. You get to a point where you want the freedom to be able to build your own house or your own castle, so to speak. And that's where I was at that point. I wanted to start my own business.
Yeah, you're onto that master chef face now, adding your own ingredients.
Exactly.
So what are the first steps that you take when an athlete comes to you? You mentioned that kind of vigorous training process the testing process where you go about that.
Yep.
All right. So
yeah, we do that. And then, to be honest with you, the way programming goes it's the same as forecasting the weather, right?
Yeah.
So I predict it's going to rain based off certain patterns, right? But it doesn't always rain, right? So it's the same thing with athletic development and programming. You predict that based off the test results. However, there's many variables that conflict with that or that can change, right? Like an athlete might decide to take on another sport during their training regimen, right? So I got to consider the amount of volume they're putting on their body. If they're a basketball player, if they're a basketball player who jumps a lot, then I might need to take some of the jumping stuff out of the program that we're doing when he gets here, right? And, same thing for any other sport, like, soccer. If they decide they want to play a sport while we're in the middle of a training regimen, then I got to take consideration into that as we work through their training program. We never want guys to burn out, and taking care of your body and the recovery side of things is extremely important. That's why when you look at guys like LeBron James and Tom Brady, here they are 20 years into their sport, but they're still playing at a high level. And that's strictly due to how well they take care of their bodies. The recovery process goes hand in hand in the development process. And, those are the things that keep guys like them in a position to where they can perform at an optimal level in their 20th year in their sport.
Yeah, and I mean, you're answering all my questions here. I was about to ask you if you train guys differently throughout all this, like different sports, and then you go with the basketball there. But it really isn't a good example of how, you're working smarter. I mean, you're still working hard, but you're taking a smarter approach at it. Like I had talked with Greg Shanahan, used to play at JU. And
yeah, I know Greg. I used to train Greg.
You did?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he had talked about how early on in his career, he had like in high school days, he had just kind of gone about that work, no pain, no gain approach. And, once he got there to JU, it was all about, perfecting a different type of his body and that injury endurance. He wished he would have done that later on and then earlier on. And I feel like that's what you guys are doing there, like that injury endurance with these different exercise is absolutely huge, and especially when it comes to all the football players you work with. Definitely.
Again, you got to look at the body as a whole, and you got to be able to look at, and what, and the other thing is you got to be able to track, right?
Yeah.
So we track their body's recovery. We track how well they move. We track all these things just to make sure that we're not overtraining them and we're not putting them in a position where they can injure themselves, and also to make sure they're getting the most out of these programs, so old school approach, coaches used to have you running for miles and miles, running upstairs and going till you puke and all that, and that makes you mentally tougher. However, it doesn't help you with your athletic development.
Really?
Yeah.
There goes everything my grandpa's told me. But, do you prefer training different types of athletes, say like a sprinter over a golfer?
Not at all. It's all the same. For me, my degree is in kinesiology, which is basically the study of the human body. And I took biomechanics class, which is like a combination of physics and movement and things like that. So I love analyzing movement in athletes, regardless of the sport, and being able to put together programs that's going to make them a better athlete. Because I don't deal with the skill side of the sport. So like if you're a baseball player, I'm not working with you on pitching or hitting or anything like that. I'm working with you on becoming a better athlete so that you can add more velo to your throwing or what have you. Or if you're a basketball player, you're moving better laterally, or you get a little bit more lift on your jump shot or what have you. So I'm not opposed to working with any athlete over the next.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure with that movement, I'm sure golf, that's fun to analyze, golf and track. And you had mentioned when I was up there, you have some of a really good team of Olympians that you work with over there at B3.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So the guy you saw me out there working with, his name was Raina Ryder. Raina actually is one of the best Olympic track and field coaches ever. So he has guys like, and we work together in a lot of different things. So you saw him out there working with me with the pro guys. So he has athletes from all over the world move to Jacksonville, Florida, just to train with him. So most popular guy you would think of is Andre DeGrasse. He recently won the gold medal in the 200 meters in the Olympics. He medaled multiple times this past Olympics. Trayvon Bromell actually ran the fastest 100-meter sprint this year.
Wow.
Omar, what's Omar's last name? I can't remember. Omar McLeod from Jamaica. He won the gold medal in the 110 hurdles, not this Olympics, but the last Olympics. Then you have Nia. Nia Ali. She won the Olympics in the 110 hurdles as well. The whole Chinese national team moved to Jacksonville just to train with him.
Really?
Yeah, the fastest male and female from Britain, from Jamaica, from France, Italy, all moved to Jacksonville to train with.
Really? I got to go work on my 40 time with you guys for real.
We'll get you right.
So where are you hoping to take your career in this business over, say, the next 5 years? What are your goals?
So for me personally, I've worked with the national champions on every level in every sport. I would like to coach an Olympian. That would be the one thing I would like to hang on my resume, is to be able to go to the Olympic game, have an athlete that I trained and worked with for the 4 or 5 years leading up into that, and be able to watch them win a gold medal. And you know what? Not even necessarily having to win a gold medal, but to be able to be in that, have that experience of having an athlete compete in the Olympics.
Absolutely. That would certainly be something. And then for people listening or watching the episode on YouTube, if they're interested, where can they find you guys?
So we're located on Phillips Highway, or off of Phillips Highway in Office Parkway. So the address is 11339 Distribution Avenue East. That's 32256. And then you can also go to our website, www.b3, and that's the number 3, better.com.
And then I'd seen your facility there. I'd seen some pictures. Looks really nice. You know, what are some of the things you have available over there?
Well, I can show you, man. I'm actually back here now. So we got like 60 yards of indoor turf. We got batting cages back in the back. We got platforms. Over here, we have like high-powered treadmills. It shows us how much force you're producing when you run, how much power you're producing when you run, how many miles per hour you can get up to. We have the Vertimax, which helps basketball players work on their jumping. We got a full 55 yards, so we can run and test for 40-yard dash and things like that. So we got a lot of good stuff going on over here, man.
Looks like an athlete's paradise.
It definitely is.
So I got a few would you rather questions, you know, some fun ways to end out the interview.
All right, cool. Let's go.
All right, this is my go-to, and it's actually been producing a variety of answers lately. Would you rather eat Italian or Mexican food?
Probably Italian. I love lasagna.
All right, so we're back to the usual now. I got a couple of people that said they prefer Mexican food, and I thought the tides were changing, but no, we're back to Italian, and I am with you there. And then would you rather watch a comedy or an action movie?
Comedy. I love to laugh.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. And then would you rather travel to Europe or to the Caribbean?
I've been to both. I would say depending on the time of the year.
All right. I can understand that. All right. Well, that's all I got for you. I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me, man. I think it's real cool what you're doing, man. And keep sticking with what you're doing, man. The sky's the limit for you, my man.
Thank you guys for watching the latest episode of Schlick Sports made in the River City. If you enjoyed, be sure to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Follow, leave a good review, share with your friends if you're listening on a podcast platform. Anything helps. Really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you next time here in the River City.